Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayana. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gop. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasho Jamuna Tira Vanachariyam Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijaya Acharya Storo Shishyamat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijaya Acharya Storo Shishyamat His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananti Koti Vaishnav Vrindi Ki. Naam Acharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki. Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. I feel very uncomfortable speaking with you in your presence, Maharaj. Blessings. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. So we're reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the 17th chapter, Madhya lila, text number, where we stopped. Okay. It's text number 194. Patigabe gata chare prabhura dekhiya, prabhu ka bedaya asi hunkara kariya. Translation. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through Vrindavan, herds of grazing cows saw him pass, and immediately surrounding him began to move very loudly. Gavi dekhi Stabda Prabhu Premara Tarange, Vatsalya Gabi Prabhu Rachate Saba Ange. Seeing the herds approach him, the Lord was stunned with ecstatic love. The cows then began to lick his body out of great affection. So the background is that Lord Chaitanya has met the Sonadiya Brahman. His name is not given. And the Sonadiya Brahman was came from a low-class background, but was initiated by Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri, was his spiritual master. And Ishvara Puri was also initiated by Madhavendra Puri. So Ishvara Puri and the Sonadiya Brahman were god brothers. So they were god brothers, and Lord Chaitanya took initiation from Ishvara Puri. So in one sense that the Sonadiya Brahman was like a guru to Lord Chaitanya. And therefore you find in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that he offered obeisances to the Sonadiya Brahman and he pays great respects to him. So here we see that the 17th chapter is continuing, where Mahaprabhu is passing through Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu passed through Vrindavan, and then the herds of cows were stunned. And the cows began to lick his body out of great affection. So here we can see that how the cows were attracted to Lord Chaitanya, and they were having association of Lord Chaitanya. And one of the important aspects of Krishna consciousness is that we should have association actually at all times, and we should avoid undesirable association. As far as possible, we should seek the company of saints and sages. In this case, they're very fortunate that they got directly the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and they could lick his body. It's very interesting. And we practitioners of sadhana bhakti, we should avoid materialists who engage in sense gratification, and those who are unbelievers who do not serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the unbelievers who do not serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we should avoid their association. So even, in the verse, it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is also quoted the verse from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about association, satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hirkarna rasayana katha. That verse, 325-25, and it's quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrta, and Prabhupada mentions in the Bhagavatam that one cannot make spiritual advancement without association. And but in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the purport, in the Adi Lila, Prabhupada writes that one has to take the instruction of the spiritual master specifically. Otherwise, it's not possible to make spiritual advancement. So, and many other verses in the Bhagavatam talks about, in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the value of a moment's association. It's so beneficial. It's actually beyond comparison to Vedic rituals, sacrifices, or attaining the heavenly planets. So association, last night somebody asked me the question that, like we working class people, and sometimes we have to engage in so many material activities, and sometimes we stressed out at work, and so how do we work and still think of Krishna? So I recall when Ambarish Prabhu came to Mumbai, and he came and he was a menial servant, serving Srila Prabhupada. And then he served Prabhupada, for a while, and then he had to leave and go back to his country, to his work. So he asked Prabhupada, what about association? How will I get association? Prabhupada said, well, you should work. When Prabhupada wanted, you should do your work, but you should think of Krishna. That you're doing this for Krishna. That'll be your association. But then again, it's not so easy, to think all the time of Krishna. So even Arjuna was on the battlefield, and he was doing his duty. So that was his devotional service. It reminds me, one devotee, the devotees weren't chanting their rounds, and they were probably the manager, the person who was managing the project, he weren't chanting his rounds, and they complained to Prabhupada, and the complaint was brought to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, well, Arjuna wasn't chanting 16 rounds on the battlefield. So, but that doesn't mean we don't have to chant 16 rounds for us. But Prabhupada just saw that he was so busy engaging in devotional service that he really didn't have the time. But at the same time, we can't use that as an excuse. But anyway, coming back to Ambarish Prabhu, that was his, as long as he thinks of Krishna, is working, but still, it's not like pure devotional service, it's mixed. But then I thought about it a little more, and I thought, well, maybe because the instruction was given by Prabhupada, the instruction came directly from Srila Prabhupada, that'll be your association, then that's what it is. That is considered to be on a pure level. And and Krishna, he's the supreme autocrat and independent person. He can, whatever you're offering, he will accept it as pure devotional services. So you can also do that, and you can get the benefit. So coming to the next purport, next verse. Sustahana Prabhu kare anga kanduyana Prabhu sange chalanahi chada denugana Becoming pacified, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to caress the cows, and the cows, being unable to give up his company, went with him. So the cows got attached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And just by caressing the cows, you can become pacified. And the cows were unable to give up his company. So what I thought that how the attachment to devotees should be, it should be, we should be attached to devotees, and we should be attached to the Lord. Like there's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrta, which is in the Madhya lila also, on the 22nd chapter, which says the root cause of devotional service to Krishna is the association of advanced devotees. Even one's dormant love for Krishna awakens. Association with devotees is still more essential. So it's not that when you become a pure devotee, then you don't have to have association. It actually continues in this world, and it continues in the spiritual world. We have association. Which is important, because to get deeper into Krishna consciousness, we have to have more advanced association and hearing pure devotees and senior devotees. Or any devotee you can hear from, you can benefit. Just like the point I made some while back, that sometimes a hearer may have a greater realization than the speaker, may have a more deeper realization by just hearing the subject matter. So we should take advantage of senior association, as well as just hearing everybody else and who's speaking. Next verse. Kastististya denu sabha rakila goyala Prabhu kanta dwani suni aisha mrige pala. It was only with great difficulty the cowherd men were able to keep the cows back. Then when the Lord chanted, all the deer heard his sweet voice and approached him. Text 198. Mrige mrige mukhe deki Prabhu anga chate, baya nai kare sanga yaya vate vate. When the does and bucks came and saw the Lord's face, they began to lick his body. Not being at all afraid of him, they accompanied him along the path. So also there's different types of deer. It's also described it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. There's different types of deer. Like some deer produce musk, not all of them. And generally when the deer is passing on the right-hand side of you, then it's considered auspicious. Just like Akrura saw that as an auspicious sign, that when he saw a deer pass, and he knew that he's going to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Our next text. Sukha pika bringa prabhura deki panchamagaya Sika gana nitya kari prabhu agayaya. Bumblebees and birds like the parrot and cuckoo all began to sing loudly on the fifth note. And the peacocks began to dance in front of the Lord. So there's peacocks, parrots, bumblebees, cows, deer, all different living species having these exchanges with the Lord. But I was also checked on, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about where the peacock request to Krishna to to dance, and then the peacock give up their feathers, and Krishna accepts them and places them on his turban. So there's a reciprocation also, But I read it's there in the, I think one of the verb, either the Chaitanya Charitamrta or the Bhagavatam, I can't recall. Prabhu deki vrindavanere vriksha latagane anukura pulako madhu ashri ashru varisane. Upon seeing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the trees and creepers of Vrindavan became jubilant. Their twigs stood up and they began to shed tears of ecstasy in the form of honey. I think Maharaj was talking about this in the Brahma Samhita course that he did some years back, I heard, of the different substances for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. Maharaj, are these liberated? These trees are liberated souls, or are these trees liberated souls, or these trees and creepers that we're talking about? They became jubilant. Liberated. Okay, thank you. So these are liberated souls. So they're in ecstasy. They're experiencing the ecstasy. They're being stunned. Different forms of ecstasy, and we'll read more about it. Pula pala bari dale pade prabhu paya bandu deki bandu yena betulana yaya. The tree, branches and creepers, overloaded with fruits and flowers, fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord and greeted him with various presentations as if they were friends. Prabhu deki vrindavanere stavara jangama anandita bandhu yena deki bandhu gana. Thus all the moving and non-moving living entities of Vrindavan became very jubilant to see the Lord. It was as if friends were made happy by seeing another friend. Te ta sabare priti deki prabhu bhave veshe sabe sane krida kare hane tare vashe. Seeing their affection, the Lord was moved by ecstatic love. He began to sport with them exactly as a friend sport with his friends. Thus he voluntarily came under the control of his friends. Next one. Prativriksha late prabhu karina alingana pushpati dhyani karena Krishna samarpana. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to embrace each and every tree and creeper, and they began to offer their fruits and flowers as if in meditation. So it's very intimate. There's an embrace, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is embracing every tree and creeper. Ashru kampa pulaka prema sarira astire Krishna bala bala ucha shivare. The Lord's body was restless, and tears, trembling and jubilation were manifest. Shri Radharanath ki. He said very loudly, chant Krishna, chant Krishna. So is also ecstasy, tears, trembling, jubilation. And the Lord is saying to chant Krishna's names. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was playing the role of you would say, as a devotee. Different roles he had. Sometimes he was in the role of a gopi. Sometimes, like when he met the son of the King Prataparudra, the prince. He was in the role of a gopi. So Mahaprabhu, there's different roles, and sometimes he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So yeah, he said very loudly, chant Krishna, chant Krishna. Then the next verse is talking about Stavara Janagama Mile Kare Krishna Dwani Prabhura Gambira Swara Yena Pratidwani. All moving and non-moving creatures then began to vibrate the transcendental sound of Hare Krishna, as if they were echoing the deep sound of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Moving and non-moving, like trees, stones, they're not moving. Like insects, other reptiles, they are moving entities. Mrigere gale dari prabhu kare narodane, mrigera pulake ange ashunayane. Then the Lord clasped the necks of the deer and began to cry. There was jubilation manifest in the bodies of deer, and tears were in their eyes. So again, there's very intimate association here, where he clasped the necks of the deer and began to cry. And the jubilation was manifest in the body of the deer also, and the tears were in their eyes also. So these are advanced subject matter, but which you read more about in the Nectar of Devotion. Vriksha dale sukha sari dila darshana, tahi deki prabhura kichus sunita hoila mana. When a male and female parrot appeared on the branches of a tree, the Lord saw them and wanted to hear them speak. Sukha sarira ke prabhu rahete udi pare, prabhu ka sunana krishnere gunashloke pare. Both parrots flew onto the ground of the Lord, on the hand of the Lord, and began to chant the transcendental qualities of Krishna. And the Lord listened to them. The male parrot sang the glorification of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beneficial to everyone in the universe. His beauty is victorious over the gopis of Vrindavan, and it subdues their patience. His pastimes astound the goddess of fortune, and his bodily strength turns Govardhan Hill into a small, toy-like ball. His spotless qualities are unlimited, and his behavior satisfies everyone. Lord Krishna is attractive to everyone. Oh, may our Lord maintain the whole universe. Purport. And the purport is just one line. This verse is found in the Govinda Lilamrita 13.29. So, we really can't comment much on this particular verse. It reminds me that in 1976, in a room conversation, a Prabhupada was speaking about when his Guru Maharaj, that is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, wanted to publish the Govinda Lilamrita. And he was asking permission from his father, who was Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I will tell you someday. And then, Bhaktivinoda Thakur kind of like forgot about it. And then he reminded, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur reminds Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he said, okay, you can print just only one copy, if you're anxious to print it, but not for distribution. Not for distribution, just one copy. So this is a very advanced subject matter. I haven't read it, but I know there's a lot of verses that Prabhupada kind of quotes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, it's there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's already, by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Those verses are already mentioned in many places. And Prabhupada, from what I see, hasn't commented much on it. He just said, this is from Govinda Lilamrita. That's the purport. And in Puri also, there was a gardener, a girl who was a gardener, a Mali's daughter. And she was while she was picking eggplants, which is brinjals, and she was singing some of these verses from the Gita Govinda, and from the Govinda Lilamrita. Oh, I'm confusing it. No, it's not that. Sorry. Sukha mukhi suni tabe Krishnera varnana, sarira ke padaye tabe radhika varnana. After hearing this description of Lord Krishna from the male parrot, the female parrot began to recite a description of Srimati Radharani. Sri Radhikaya Priyata Surupata Susilata Nartana Gana Chaturi Gunali Sampat Kavita Charajate Jagan Mano Mohana Chitta Mohini. The female parrot said, Srimati Radharani's affection, her exquisite beauty and good behavior, her artistic dancing and chanting, and her poetic compositions are all so attractive that they attract the mind of Krishna, who attracts the mind of everyone in the universe. This verse is also found in the Govinda Lilamrita 1330. Puna suke kaye Krishna madana mohana, tabe ares loke suke karila patana. Thereafter the male parrot said, Krishna is the enchanter of the mind of Cupid. He then began to recite another verse. Vamsidari Jagannari Chittahari Sasarike Vihari Gopa Narabir Jian Madhana Mohana. The male parrot then said, My dear Sarid, which refers to the female parrot, see Krishna carries a flute and enchants the hearts of all women throughout the universe. He's specifically the enjoyer of the beautiful gopis, and is the enchanter of Cupid also. Let him be glorified. This verse is also from the Govinda Lilamrita, chapter 13, text 31. But it also reminds me of how in the 29th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a commentary on it where, when Krishna played his flute, then he instigated an act of thievery. And the song of the flute passed to the ears of the gopis, and then it entered into the treasure chambers of their hearts. And that wonderful music stole all the most valuable possessions. And what those possessions were? Their sobriety, their shyness, their fear, discrimination. And along with their minds, in a split second, this music delivered all these goods to Krishna. It's a very wonderful description given in the 10th canto. So thus, the cowherd girls, the gopis or the kishoris were afflicted, and they were thinking, I have to capture that great thief. And therefore, they went forward, and each one was going towards Krishna, unknown to the other. They were going to catch that great thief. And they began to chase him just to retrieve their goods. And as they were rushing, their earrings were swinging. And then they were rushing to the place where Krishna was standing. And their bracelets and anklets were also swinging. So from this we can gather that the thief, which is Krishna, he did not consider the gopis' external ornaments worthy of stealing. So it was the qualities that he stole. Then the next verse 215. Punasari kahe sukha kari parihasa ta suni prabhu rahela vismaya premolasa. Then the female parrot began to speak jokingly to the male parrot, and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was struck with wonderful ecstatic love to hear her speak. The female parrot said, when Lord Sri Krishna is with Radharani, he is the enchanter of Cupid. Otherwise, when he is alone, he himself is enchanted by erotic feelings, even though he enchants the whole universe. Sukasari udi puna gela vriksha dale, mayurera niche prabhu deka kutu hale. Both parrots then flew onto a tree branch, and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to watch the dancing of the peacocks with curiosity. Mayurera kanta deki prabhura Krishna smiti hoile, prema veshe Mahaprabhu bhumita padile. When the Lord saw the bluish necks of the peacocks, his remembrance of Krishna immediately awakened, and he fell to the ground in ecstatic love. Prabhura murchita deki sesta brahmana bhattacharya sangakari prabhura santarpana. When the Brahman saw that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was unconscious, he and Balabhadra Bhattacharya took care of him. So Balabhadra Bhattacharya was his servant, was serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time, and the Brahman, the Sonadiya Brahman. Asti Vyaste Mahaprabhura lana bhari vasha jala seke kar ange vastera vatasa. They hastily sprinkled water over the Lord's body. Then they took off his outer cloth and began to fan him with it. Prabhu karne Krishna name kaha uche kari Chaitanya pana Prabhu ya nagadagadi. They then began to chant the holy name of Krishna into the Lord's ear. When the Lord regained consciousness, he began rolling on the ground. So even when we were going to the course of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the seminar with Maharaj, and we find that when Krishna, when Gop Kumar returns to the spiritual world, it was Swarup, I think Swarup, right? Gop Kumar, Swarup. Yes, Swarup. And when he went back to the spiritual world, Krishna was not there. He was gone herding the cows. And when Krishna saw him from a distance, when Krishna came and saw Swarup, I think there was some embrace or some intimate association, and Krishna actually felt unconscious, and the residents were not happy. And who had done this? Who is this person had just come and caused this to our Lord? But then Balaram comes, Lord Balaram, and suggested that to Swarup to chant the name of Krishna in the ears of Lord Krishna, and then he came back to consciousness, or came out of that situation. So chanting Hare Krishna, and I was thinking about that, Lord Balaram actually is a original spiritual master, and therefore we have to take instruction from our own spiritual masters, who are extensions of Lord Balaram. And we see that Prabhupada also told us to chant 16 rounds and follow the regulative principle. And we have to follow these instructions very strictly, especially chanting 16 rounds daily of the Hare Krishna mantra. And I had that experience when I just felt sick recently. I couldn't chant 16 rounds one day, and that was the first time ever in my whole Krishna consciousness that I could not chant 16 rounds. So in the night I was able to write to Giriraj Maharaj, and somehow or the other the next day I recovered a lot, and then the next day I chanted with him on his Japa Sangha. We were chanting, and I managed to complete the rounds for the day and the previous day. So therefore it's important that if we can't complete our rounds on a day due to certain challenges we may have, we can complete it on the next day. So, but we should not chant. We should always try to chant 16 rounds daily. So these are all different symptoms of ecstasy. Another point I just thought of mentioning was about association, which our devotees, we have a Back to Godhead team. They pack monthly, and they have a good group, and lots of them became devotees through that packing magazines and coming and doing a little service. So Nikunja Viharani, who heads that our Back to Godhead department, she decided that to do other services also, the devotees can do other services. So they came making sweets someday, and in the fall, after a week or two, they came to clean the temple room. So as they were cleaning the temple room, a person walked in. A person walked into the temple, and he said he'd like to do some service. He wanted to clean the temple. So they gave him a cloth and he was cleaning, and then she called me. Then I came and I met him. He's actually, I think, a mechanical engineer. And we sat over there, and then I gave him the chanting beads, a bag, and the signs of self-realization. And then he stayed. He stayed right up till about 6 o'clock in the evening. And then we went into Prabhupada's room, which he chanted about 6 rounds. He was very happy, and he left, and he said he will keep in touch with us. So he didn't call me. He was like reading the book, and he was regularly chanting every day. So a few days ago he called me, and actually he was also meant to collect a set of the Srimad Bhagavatam that he purchased. But he didn't come, he didn't keep that appointment. And anyway, I was concerned because he already had paid for his Bhagavatam. But what happened is that just 2 days ago, he met a serious accident and he passed away. He left his body. So at least he had the chance. He became vegetarian and he chanted some rounds. So therefore association is very important. And we have to get the association of Vaishnavas and take their association, and at any moment we can leave this world. But at least he did a little for Krishna. And he was going to the airport and he just crashed and he left his body. So please take this seriously, chanting Hare Krishna, associating with the devotees, and following the prescripts or the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada and his followers. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions anybody like to make?
Just something about a couple of things even, about association. On in India, the first Padayatra was coming up to 1986, the 500th anniversary of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. So a dog somehow became attached to the Padayatra devotees as they're moving around the country. And they then, at some point, they came to Vrindavan, and they decided in Vrindavan they'd go and visit the main temples one day, go around, So, and the dog came with them. Yeah, but dogs are not allowed in the temples. So each temple, as I recall, the 7 main temples they went to, so each temple they had to tie the dog up at the entrance, just by the entrance somewhere. And the dog became so incredibly disturbed, losing the association of the devotees. When the devotees went into the temple, the dog just became kind of frantic, wanting to be with the devotees. So, of course, the dog didn't understand, but at least some attachment was there, like very strong attachment. And the dog, it was 86, so the dog would not still be living. But he must have taken birth as a devotee through that association and being so attached to the devotees. Oh, so attached. That was one thing. And the other thing, when Nelson Mandela came here for the first time, I forget what year it was 90-something, and I was showing him around, and we came into the temple room. He came in front of Srila Prabhupada. He bowed down in front of Prabhupada. And then we came and sat over there. See where that sort of black bag or whatever it is sitting there. We were sitting there. And I was telling him some things. Actually, I was telling him that, Nelson Mandela, he wanted to change society and people and make things and make people better. And Prabhupada was doing the same thing. So Prabhupada was a spiritual revolutionary, and he appreciated that very much. And then, so I explained how Prabhupada went all over the world, and people in so many places, they were transformed. And Nelson Mandela was sitting there looking at Prabhupada from there as I was talking. And he leant forward to me and he said, "How did he do it? How did he do it?" So, in other words, it struck him. It struck him, the association of Srila Prabhupada. So now he's passed away, of course, but it all has its effect, and who knows where he's taken birth or taken birth probably, but the influence of it will be there. Association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. I was just thinking of Shivananda Shain and the dog. How the dog, went back. Although dogs, Prabhupada writes in the Chaitanya Charitamrta and the purport, he says they urinate on tulsi and they're offensive. They can be offensive. And but still, the dog that followed Shivananda Shain was able to get liberation, and because it's attached to a devotee. So the attachment to a devotee is very important. I just thought about that while you were speaking.
We had a dog on Govardhan Parikrama once. I don't think you were with us, many years ago. This dog, right at the beginning of the Parikrama, the dog was being chased by some other dogs in one of the villages as you're moving between Radhakund and Kusum Sarovar. This dog was being chased, and the dog came running over to us into the middle of our group, just small group, probably 10 of us. And the other dogs stopped because they're afraid of humans. And this dog knew it. He turned around and sort of stuck his head out, looking at the other dogs like, go jump in the lake. So then the dog came with us, the whole parikrama. He left us somewhere between maybe Uddhavakund and Radhakund, somewhere like that. Otherwise, like 80% of